Welcome to Fortune Forecast. You are in my book playlist where in this video we will continue on with the book titled The Subconscious Mind and Its Illuminating Light by Janet Young. The book was published by the Whitaker and Ray Company in 1909. It is in the public domain. I hope that you are enjoying this book as much as I am. In recap for chapter 3, it was really juicy. It had so much good stuff that for me, it is encompassed in one sentence that she wrote. All is God and we are of God. I think that says it all. And yes, one thing, like my mom and I were talking, it's like you have an expensive vehicle, you just don't know where the buttons are. But once you start finding out where the different switches and the different buttons are, oh my, what a ride we are in for. So sit back. I'll go ahead and start up on the chapter here. And as I said previously, she starts off each section with a short quote from several people. So I'll go ahead and start with that, and then I will announce the section and get right in. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, and if it's 5 o'clock wherever you're at, grab your wine and relax. Let's get started. This first quote is from Max Muller in Psychology of Religion. An organized hierarchy of divine orders of beings, from seraphim and cherubim to archangels and angels, hand down the divine light to mankind, and celestial intelligences communicate with mankind through thought, a bond of union between the visible and the invisible, between God and mankind. The next quote is from A Study in Dante, 10 Heavens, Gardiner. Angels signify messengers, communicate the gifts of God to man, spread the knowledge of the Holy Spirit and the profound mysteries of God so as to bring all to Him. Angels are appointed guardians and messengers to mankind through inner revelation from divine sources. Through the Spirit, the higher truths may be revealed. The archangels announce messages of special importance and sacredness. Rising from God, these higher orders, like mirrors, reflect the divine rays. This radiant light gives forth spiritual knowledge to those who are ready to receive it. The angels have been likened to busy bees in God's service, flying between the flowers of heaven and earth, sweetly disposing of all things, bearing boughs and bringing gifts. Moving on to the next section titled The Central Calm. The central calm is a condition of peace. Peace is not necessarily passivity. The mind may be active and yet in a condition of peace that has overcome. Peace is a state of harmony. Peace is a state of confidence and trust and faith. The individual in harmony with the attributes of the universal will, or the divine principle of the universe, or God manifested in ourselves. Divine orders of beings exist who overwatch, guide, and guard mankind, respond to entreaty and trust, reveal the hidden mysteries of God by spreading the knowledge of Him to all seekers of higher wisdom through thought communion apprehended by the intellect. Concentrated thought attracts the assistance of these spiritual helpers and forces through the energy of mental action, which qualifies self-realization so as to apprehend spiritual power. To find the central calm is to seek the God within. Self-confidence and a sense of superiority follows calmness. First, calmness, then more calmness discovers the central calm, the source of peace, God in ourselves, and helps solve some of the mysteries and problems of life. Mysticism is the love of God, a vision of the divine animating substance of the universe in all things. God in Himself is an eternal will to all goodness. The Spirit is in everything and is all in all. The more accomplishment for good, the more Spirit manifested. The union of the divine and human life makes man a partaker of the divine nature and is possible by contemplation. To seek and to find is to realize the reality of the central calm. May these divine powers descend and influence our thoughts so that we may receive that for which we ask and find that for which we seek. The early wisdom seekers, seers, prophets, and teachers knew that they communicated with unseen powers whereby knowledge and understanding was imparted to those who were to be guides to humanity. The Oriental philosophers have well-defined names for mind conditions in their endeavor to attain to the blissful tranquility of the central calm. These concise terms qualify to serve and teach a system so as to conserve and sustain energy. The Orientals are acquiring our methods of activity and progress, an interchange of value, as it were. Yogi is a wise man. Yoga is his philosophy, yoga being intense concentration. Prana is the infinite, omnipresent manifesting power of the universe. The breath being the most obvious manifestation of the prana. The control of this vital force enables one to manifest action and intelligence and energize health and strength. Commands from the mind are capable of giving strength and health, and develop physical and spiritual power obtained from the universal mind principle of action and energy and of banishing all undesirable conditions or elements. Maya, sense world, or illusions, disturbing thought, or anything allowed to disturb calmness. Atma is the inseparable ray of the One Self, the God above. Thought, in all of its varying aspects ever striving upward, becomes permeated by the Atma light. Mana is thought in all its infinite states. Realization comes by compelling will. All are parts of manifestations of the great or universal self, pulsing in innumerable forms. One breath, breathing in all things. Nirvana, self-control in all things. peace, and harmony in all the faculties. The one who has overcome Maya is no longer acted upon by his surroundings, but acts upon them and is able to make his own environment or surrounding aura, tranquilizing the heart with thought controlled, to which he allows no disturbing elements or conditions in his efforts towards nirvana or peace, the central calm of the Oriental philosopher. The higher manas or thoughts has overcome the lower manas, ignoring all undesirable thought or lower manas. Nothing can penetrate the aura or atmosphere or mind conditions which manifest in the physical conditions. The individual who has thus mastered and controlled self and attained harmony has overcome and is no longer acted upon by his surroundings, but creates his own philosophy of life by recognizing his powers and privileges. Repose and calm thought conserves energy. We may direct the course of our ideas by the application of our notice. The Japanese nation assert their divine origin, incorporating the principles of their belief into their religion and daily life. The conscious mental and physical powers manifest according to the degree sought, claimed, and appropriated from the subconscious, the resident indwelling region given to mankind by the Supreme Intelligence, the first cause, to be utilized for happiness in this life. The God-given powers of free will and dominion manifest the infinite on earth, bringing God nearer to man, and are given for use for the betterment of mankind. Suggestions of confidence in our ability to succeed create action and explain the method of materialized thought, possibilities becoming realities. Contemplation brings God nearer to manifest Him to all. Intuition is inner knowledge. The subconscious mind is a faithful emissary and agent and transforms longings into enablings by faith in its powers. With clear perceptions established, more subtle aspects of forces are discovered. The soul determines more distinctively spiritual phases, the subconscious forming an envelope, as it were, for the soul, or as the insight becomes clearer, new tracks of understanding are discerned. The Eastern philosophers designate the different mind faculties and soul powers, mental and physical conditions and manifestations, each emanation enveloping more subtle elements and phases, each particular region and aspect regulated and manifesting according to the nature and direction of the thought and will, acting as intermediaries upon the physical body and also between the thought world and the physical world, the unseen causes of the seen effects. The soul disclosing divine rays and emanations and more spiritual consciousness than the subconscious. The subconscious region disclosing more subtle elements than the objective, each recognizing and manifesting conditions according to the nature and direction of the thought and will, intelligence, insight, and faith projected. These powers and forces are God manifesting in ourselves, a ladder of the heaven of the mind, where angels descend. The gods or immortals were an allegory to symbolize soul powers. Olympus, a symbol of the spiritual world. The gods, the intelligences between the invisible and the visible, ready to serve mortals. The hierarchs of divine orders of celestial beings and angelic hosts are the bond of union, the connecting link between the spiritual worlds. There is always a mediator or vehicle of communion interpenetrating and communicating between the planes or spheres of action corresponding to the quality of the thought conditions. The Holy Spirit is an amulet always at hand and about us. The Holy of Holies, the Comforter, promised from the beginning to abide with us forever. The reward is manifest. The subconscious is God in ourselves. To recognize this is to be born again. A sense of the presence of the Holy Spirit is wisdom and understanding and intellectual power, the divine union through the breath of life breathed into us by God Himself when man became a living soul. Who thus knows becomes united and merged in it. Who sees me everywhere and all in me, him will I lose not, nor will he lose me. Great is the thinking self, greater is the principle of judgment, and greater than the principle of judgment is he. Perceiving this self illumines mental images. God working through us, answering our prayers and aspirations by inspiration. Angels are appointed guardians and messengers to mankind. The highest truths may be revealed through the Spirit. Good thoughts strengthen and invigorate. Cheerful and harmonious thoughts are active centers and attract and induce helpful influences. Music is harmony. Accomplished good is spirit demonstrated by self-preparedness. Our demonstrations stimulate and prove our faith, forming and creating a magnetic center which constantly widens as ideals are attained. In the pastorals and the Georgics, the agriculturists were believed to have been supernaturally instructed. Primeval revelation concerning the crops, orchards, and vineyards. The early attainment of knowledge was through the awakened consciousness of the higher or spiritual forces and activities. Celestial intelligences handing down the divine light to mankind through concentrated meditation and illumined thought and perceptions. This radiant divine light gives spiritual knowledge to the seeker to be forwarded to benefit humanity. Angels signify messengers and communicate the gifts of God to man by spreading the knowledge of the Holy Spirit and the profound mysteries of God to all creation so as to bring all to Him. In free will, man was made in God's own image to partake of His attributes. The hammer cannot produce work without the craftsman. The celestial intelligences carry out the divine plan, influencing ideas in the material world by imparting divine truth from the supreme realms. The human soul is made in God's image and likeness. From the consideration of the grades of perfection in things, there must be supreme intelligence by which all material things are ordained, and this supreme intelligence is God. Intuition is the certain and manifest knowledge of invisible things. The angels are likened to busy bees in God's service, flying between the flowers of heaven and earth, sweetly disposing all things, bearing vows and bringing gifts. Uniting intellectual vision to the divine essence, it becomes the intelligible form of the intellect. The archangels announce messages of special importance and sacredness. Contemplation manifests God to mankind. This radiant light gives forth spiritual knowledge to all creation. Thoughts commune with beings who people immensity, broadening the mind and brightening the intellect, responding to invocation and revealing wisdom to the seeker. The knowing, self-guided by the will, influences the affairs of life. The psychic electric power of the spirit is the bond of union between the angelic host and mankind. Rising from God, these higher orders communicate this divine light, this light and love, like mirrors reflecting the divine rays to mankind. Every good and perfect gift comes from the Father of light. Man ascends from things of sense to things apprehended by the intellect, through visible things to the knowledge of invisible things. The human soul has three lofty prerogatives: immortality, freedom of the will, and likeness to God. Divine light comes from the divine essence to the individual from the soul. In contemplation, thoughts are lifted up and receive understanding, heavenly influences diffusing knowledge of divine truths. Individuals are communicating centers for the reflex action of thought and will to manifest divine attributes. Even as the universe is governed by law, so the individual universe of being and the whole system of the created things is governed by law and given for use. Ask, and ye shall receive. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened, are the instructions and privileges intended to be relied upon and demonstrated. In the degree that we apprehend, perceive, and exercise this knowledge of the subconscious powers, will we discover and discern new phases of these powers. The power of the mind over the body strengthens the mental and physical energies. Receptivity, recognition, belief, and faith actualizes and vitalizes its supremacy. The inspiring suggestion blesses him that gives as well as takes. The soul rises to spiritual exaltation, intellectual insight, and command. We have within us an entirely independent, immaterial principle. It represents an exaltation above the temporal. Power responds to appeal and importunancy. Cheerful and harmonious thought attract helpful influences, reveal celestial secrets, and assist in all endeavor. Calm thought illumines superior intelligence. The awakening of the inner sense seems to demand quiescence of the body and the Spirit of God. The mission of the Holy Spirit is to vivify the soul or spirit. It responds to invocation and is the bond of union between God and mankind. constituting the psychic life of mankind, the central calm. So now here is a prayer from Corelli. In prayer, such science there is, that by its power the ether parts asunder. The highest golden gateways are unbarred, and the connecting link twixt God and man stretches itself through space, defying any force to break the current of its messages. The next is an invocation by Benson. Infinite Lord of Life, shine on me the full knowledge of the one Spirit that moves the world. Pour that light upon me, let the light illumine, and in that light, let us go forward. And this concludes the section titled The Central Calm, as well as the reading of The Subconscious Mind and Its Illuminating Light by Janet Young. Hopefully you have enjoyed this book. I have really enjoyed it myself. It is a gem. And like I said, the way that she wrote this book, it felt like she was just jotting down notes, and the flow was a little bit different for me. But nonetheless, it was like she just wanted to give us the golden nuggets of some great seminar that she had been to. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me your comments. What did you think? All right. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see each other on another video real soon. Thank you for being part of the Fortune family, and may you be blessed.